Joe, you're the greatest. What about right tackle? Joe didn't tell us what the Niners should do at right tackle. They could always bring back Mike McGlinchey, who might surprisingly be too expensive for the 49ers. Pro Football Focus is estimating that he's going to get 4 years, $62 million. That's more than $15 million per season. If the Niners give Mike McGlinchey more than $15 million per season, there's nothing I can do about it. I'd like to say I would do something, but there's nothing I could do. What do you think they should do?
Let him walk.
Thank you.
Let him walk.
John, talking to you.
Yeah, let him walk. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind they ought to let him walk.
Yes.
And there's no doubt in my mind he's going to get paid. So that's the other part.
Was it going to be like Houston or the Jets or one of these?
I don't know who's going to pay him, but
Miami.
You could argue that Mike McGlinchey is as good a offensive tackle as exists. And there's really only two places to get him: the first round of the draft or free agency. Orlando Brown is considered the top free agent. And yet he made $16 million this last year. So then you got George Fant. Who's George Fant? Cam Irving, and then McGlinchey. And McGlinchey's younger than these other guys. So yeah, McGlinchey's on the right side of 30, and he's he's a good guy as far as you don't have to worry about him off the field. He's a hardworking guy. He'll play hurt. He'll play dinged up. He did that I think at times this year a little bit. So yeah, I mean he's going to get paid. And there were a lot of people really like the Notre Dame offensive linemen because they tend to achieve to their talent level. And he made 4.5 this year. Yeah, he's going to get paid, and they don't need to pay him. And they could probably replace him with somebody down the list who's cheaper and better.
God love Mike McGlinchey. I hope he gets, he's already set for life as a former top 10 pick, but I hope you get another big payday, and I hope you work out for the next team, but I really pity a team. But anyway, that's not our topic. What do you think the Niners should do at right? Are there any right tackles sort of on your
there's
radar?
There's two that I think are good candidates. One is Andre Dillard, who hasn't been able to get on the field in Philadelphia. But that, as you know, there's no shame in that. There's no shame in that because that's how good their line is. And Dillard's 27. He was a former first-round pick. He went to Wazoo. Maybe he wants to live west. So I think that's an interesting one. The other one for me is Caleb McGarry.
That's my guy.
UW.
That's my guy.
He's 27, and he's I think going to be cheaper than McGlinchey. I think both those guys are cheaper than McGlinchey.
PFS estimates 4 years, $52 million, $13 million per, so a little bit cheaper than McGlinchey.
Yeah, so I would
still expensive though.
Yeah, well, I mean, tackles are expensive.
Good, he's a very good player. Yeah.
But I mean, like once you get down the list, there's really not a lot of good players here. I mean, it's a really slim pickings list. They may have to go, with some fill-in guys. I mean, or do they bring back Brunskill? Are they interested in Tom Compton? Billy Turner's out there. But to me, if you're going to replace Isaiah Wynn, but I think the two guys that make the most sense to me would be Caleb McGarry and Andre Dillard. And I think I'd rather have McGarry. And then maybe the best way to do this is to, try to, because the O-line needs a little depth. Maybe sign two guys, maybe sign a quality backup. I was suggesting Nick Allegretti from the Chiefs, who I think can play right tackle in a pinch, and he can play right guard and left guard. I think he potentially could play center. He's only 26, and he's been on a good team. I kind of like Allegretti, but I mean, there's not a lot of there's O-line play around the league is bad. And so there's a bunch of teams looking for O-line improvements, and there's a bunch of tackles, but how many of them are actual upgrades?
Isaiah Wynn gets hurt, been hurt a lot. That scares me. And what they could do is they could bring back Colton McKivitz and say, you know what, he's probably not that much worse than Mike McGlinchey, and he'll be way cheaper. So you could be better at other places. But if they want to upgrade at right tackle, they should go get Caleb McGarry. It's not a position you need to necessarily skimp on. I think the best teams have two good offensive tackles, not just one. Because having just one offensive tackle who's good in pass protection, you're committed to like 1997 football with these tight formations and tight ends. And it's like you want to be able to spread it out sometimes. And how can you go spread if you don't have, how can you have these open formations if you don't have two bookends out there? So I would like to see the Niners actually invest in right tackle and get someone better than McGlinchey. Get a better player than McGlinchey. I know it's going to be expensive, but Caleb McGarry, go get him. Number one priority. I would love that.
I think it's, I don't know if it's the number one priority, but it's really, really close. And it's not a great offensive tackle draft either. So, I think Skoronski from Northwestern's really good, but he's going to go probably top 10.
Can't get him.
And then there's a couple other guys that are going to go in the 20s. But I know there may be a couple guys they reach for, but I mean, it's not. There's maybe 5 or 6, maybe 7 or 8 max really starting caliber tackles in the draft, and I got to think most of them are going to be off the board in the first 50 picks.
Absolutely. So again, the Niners could go cheaper at the position and bring back Colton McKivitz, which is fine, or they could bring back Tom Compton. And they've had success with this, but I think if you're trying to win the Super Bowl, you got to assume that eventually you're going to face Philly in the playoffs. Is Tom Compton good enough? Is Spencer Burford, Tom Compton good enough? Spencer Burford, Colton McKivitz? Or do you actually have to have 5 good offensive linemen to counteract that team? Something to think about.